Hi, Richie here up at the Sacro allotment in Toll Cross. So we've obviously been keeping gardening a little bit through this pandemic as much as we can, but we have a few limitations. One of them is that we were meant to have wood for building our raised beds, and we obviously haven't been able to get a delivery, but we've gone ahead anyway and made our raised beds, as you can see here. We started by double digging the whole allotment, then measuring out our beds. The beds are 140 wide, and that's because my arm is 70 centimeters wide. So it means that I'll be able to reach and weed and plant from each side without walking on the bed and compacting the soil. So to measure out the garden, we put in these stakes, ran a string, and then walked along the paths, digging the soil from the path up onto the beds on each side and rake those flat. It's really important when you have such a small space like this to plan out your garden properly and to measure things properly. It means that every square centimeter of space you can use properly. Speaking about spacing, this is a bed of kale beside me here, and any of you that grew kale before will probably think those are very closely planted together, but this is in fact a dwarf variety of kale called dwarf green curled. So instead of being 45, 55 centimeters apart, which would be typical with most kales, these are only short plants. They'll get about this high, but you can plant them much closer together, 27 centimeters apart from each other. That's a really great way to use space when you have a small garden. And you could look at if you have a cabbage, brassica bed, having dwarf kale, dwarf cabbages, dwarf cauliflowers, all mix into a bed and have a lot more plants. That's a really good thing if you have a small family and you don't really want to be growing tons and tons of one variety of kale. So we'll follow up here a little bit. Next we have a strawberry bed that we've just planted up this week. These strawberry plants were donated from one of the other plot holders, and that's really great that we have a couple of 2- and 3-year-old plants mixed in together, and this should hopefully give us strawberries throughout June. It's a June bearer variety. I don't know the name unfortunately though. And then up at the end you can see we've made a flower bed. This was some plants that were on the allotment dotted around between the weeds from the people that had left it last year. So we've gathered them all into one place, a flower bed 70 centimeters wide, as we obviously can't weed from the other side where you see the fence there. So this is filled with forget-me-nots, lavender, a couple of raspberry plants jumping in from the neighbour's garden that we'll leave there for now, but probably move somewhere smarter when we get there. And we planted up as well some German chamomile and some calendula. So hopefully this is going to bring a splash of colour and look really well as people pass our allotment. But it's also going to be really good for biodiversity, for the insect life. Hopefully bringing more of that into our garden instead of just having vegetables filling up every bed. Thanks.